Yo, what's good? So these last few weekends, I've missed quite a few fights. These weekends of March 17th and March 24th. Now I wanted to make a recap of all these fights that I missed. Not all of them because I couldn't find all the fights that I wanted to see. I couldn't find full fights of all the fights that I missed. But I will review the ones that I did see, and the ones that I didn't see in its entirety. I will let you guys know. That way, you know that my opinion is a little bit shady, you could say, on that certain fights because I didn't see the whole thing. So let's get started. March 17th, 2018, with this picture I have right here of my favorite Irish fighter, Michael Conlan, in his sixth professional fight. Man, this guy is a draw. This guy is a star in the making. If he could keep winning and keep knocking out his opponents in this fashion, he will be a superstar. He has an Irish fan base that shows up to every one of his fights. And in his first fight, he had Conor McGregor there. He had a big Irish bash on St. Patrick's Day, and this was his 1 year anniversary. Already his sixth professional fight, and one of these years, if he keeps doing this on St. Patrick's Day, which I have a feeling that he will, and hopefully he could make this a sort of Cinco de Mayo for him. I'm not sure if St. Patrick's Day is equivalent to Cinco de Mayo for Mexico, but if he keeps doing this year after year, I would love to go to New York. This is the only reason I will go to New York. I am team West Coast, but I will travel to the East Coast to New York and watch him fight, especially if it's part of a good card like this card was. Now, Michael Conlan, one thing that I hadn't really seen of him, it was the body shots, and he almost stopped David Barron with the body shot in the first round. That left uppercut to the solar plexus. Oh, I always feel those punches, and I appreciate a fighter that could throw a really good body punch. Uh, Barron got up and he finished him in the second round. Two things I loved from Michael Conlan in this fight was body punching and his killer instinct. The fact that he knew that he had to end the show fast. And I love that after the knockdown, when David Barron got up, that he went right for the body. He knew that he was hurt in that spot. And he didn't stop him until the second round because he got saved by the bell in the first. But I'm impressed from what I saw by Michael Conlan in this fight, and I look forward to seeing his progression in the professional rankings, and I look forward to seeing his star grow and his star shine. On the very same card, another fighter's star kind of burn out. Felix Verdejo. Man, a couple years ago, you should have heard how high people were on this guy. They were comparing him with Trinidad. They were saying he's the next Trinidad. I never saw it. Uh, Frankly, I don't think I have video proof of this, but I always thought he was a little overrated and overhyped. I liked the kid. I liked his I like real knockouts. I like this smile, right? that that gave him the look of a potential star. But from the looks of it, he spent too much time in Puerto Rico partying it up, and it really showed in this fight. He wasn't really throwing much. Antonio Lozada was following him throughout, and this guy came to fight. Typical Mexican fighter coming in, throwing a million punches, throwing body shots, throwing uppercuts, throwing straight rights, throwing the kitchen sink at this kid. And Felix Verdejo didn't have the heart. And he probably did have the skill to beat him, but not the will, man. He Like I said, he wasn't throwing, he wasn't active enough. And you gotta be active to win a fight. This is one of the fights that I didn't watch in its entirety. I watched like the last 3 rounds, but I was very disappointed from what I saw. I was disappointed because I know Felix Verdejo could do better. I don't know if he would have beaten Lozada on that night. Maybe at his absolute best, but I don't know if this was like 50% from his best, 70%, but he could have been better. And if he was better, he still would have lost to Lozada. And maybe even in his absolute peak, he would have lost to a guy like Lozada because I seriously question his heart in this fight. He got up and Lozada went to finish and the referee stopped it and Verdejo looks at the ref like he blames him for getting stopped. No, dude, it was your fault. You let this guy come in. You're the shorter fighter with the shorter reach and you're letting this guy get inside. I mean, you're not getting inside. You're not doing enough to get inside. Lozada was fighting from the outside, coming in, coming out when he wanted to. You let him do what he wanted, when he wanted. And that's your fault. You're to blame. I was never, like I said, I was never so high on Verdejo. I never thought that he was the next Trinidad or even the next Juanma Lopez, really. But I think he is better than this, and I really hope that he could come back from this because I think he has a skill to maybe be a future world champion. Not a future great, not even a future unified champion, but I think he could be a future champion if he applied himself. And I hope he goes back to his trainer or changes trainer. I'm not sure his situation, but I hope he starts taking this sport seriously because I like him. I like to watch him fight. A, a, a Puerto Rican fighter that is a potential star or a star in the making is always good for the sport. I hope he gets up and goes back to the drawing board, gets a couple soft opponents in, and comes back and fights some prospects, and hopefully we give him a title. I believe that he has that potential. I don't think that he is completely done like all these other people think. I don't think that he is completely done. I think that he could still come back from this, and I hope he does. Grovzik also fought the light heavyweight fighter who beat Yuneski Gonzalez by brutal knockout, and he fought a guy named Amar. And I didn't watch this fight. It was not on YouTube. I couldn't find this fight, Grovzik versus Amar, on the internet, or Caparillo versus Chilemba fight, two light heavyweight fights that I really wanted to watch, but I couldn't find it on YouTube. So if you guys could let me know, are these two fights worth watching? Grosbeak versus Amar and Caparillo versus Chilemba. If they are, please send me a link somewhere. Maybe inbox me a link to one of their fights. If it's not, just let me know. Main event of this card was Jose Ramirez versus Amir Imam. Now this is another fight that I watched in parts. I watched the highlights. From the highlights, I was very impressed with Jose Ramirez and how he dealt with a slick boxer like Imam. Imam's a very good fighter, has very good footwork, has a good jab, and Ramirez was able to get inside and throw combinations, was able to come over that jab and hurt Imam with that right hand several times. Imam looked hurt. Imam's face was busted. I think there was a knockdown in there. Correct me if I'm wrong, but Ramirez deserves a lot of credit for beating a very good fighter like Imam and hurting him and busting him up the way he did. Now, I'm not sure if it was as one-sided as the highlights make it look, because of course highlights are meant to highlight a certain fighter and highlight the action. Yes, Imam got in his shots and gave us a hell of an effort, but ultimately he lost, and Jose Ramirez won clearly. Now he's the WBC Junior Lightweight Champion. So I was looking at the junior lightweight, the super featherweight scene, looking at the top 10 of ringtv.com. There's Lomachenko, Berchelt, Davis, Alberto Machado, Francisco Vargas, Tevin Farmer, Mickey Roman, Jezreel Corrales, Johnny Gonzalez, and Christopher Diaz. Now, I think most of these guys beat Jose Ramirez. Maybe he could be Alberto Machado. Um, Miguel Roman would be a hell of a fight. He probably beat Jezreel Corrales and Johnny Gonzalez and Christopher Diaz. He beats a lower top 10 guys, but the top guys in that division, I think Berchelt whoops him. I think Lomachenko, of course, and he would have a very tough time against Gervonta Davis. That being said, I think the Regis Progress guy, the guy that just knocked out Julius Ndango, I believe that he is a mandatory for Jose Ramirez's new belt. So that's a good fight, man. That's a really good fight. I think Ramirez has the advantage in speed, in footwork, and I think he's a better boxer. But progress, I'll pronounce it how it's spelled. Progress. It looks like a French name, but Progress can bang, man. And a guy that could bang is in it for 36 minutes of a fight. So Ramirez better be careful when he fights him. And that's a hell of a fight, and a fight that I really want to see. Same night in Monterrey, Mexico, you had Jaime Munguia, prospect, moved up to 28-0 with 24 knockouts when he defeated Johnny Narvarrete in the rematch. Johnny Narvarrete is the only guy that has taken Munguia to 10 rounds, and he blasted him in 3. So he's already learning. He's learned from their first fight. This guy took him 10 rounds the first fight, and now he blasted him in 3. Now, Munguia reminded me a lot of Jose no, not Jose, David Benavides. He's a tall, big fighter, strong fighter, throws a lot, throws to the body, and then brings it back to the top. Throws combinations. A big guy that throws combinations. A big Mexican that throws combinations. He reminded me a lot of David Benavides. And he's only 21 years old. So Benavides is also a young champion. Not that Munguia is a champion just yet. I believe that Munguia just has to tighten up his defense and tighten up his punches. This fight was at 155 catch weight, and I'm not sure if Munguia is ready for fighters like Gabriel Rosado or Yoshihiro Kamagai yet, but those fights would be extremely entertaining, and those fights would be a test for the young Munguia. But those are fights that I'd love to see. I hope by the end of this year, he's already 28-0, we could see him against at least seasoned veterans, seasoned journeymen like Deshaun Johnson. I think that would be a real test for Munguia. He weighed in at 155, which tells me that he might be growing out of the 154 division. But if he could stay at 154, I think a fight against Kamagai at the end of this year or at the start of next year would be incredible fights. If not, next year we could get a fight against Rosado at middleweight, or if he thinks he's really ready by next year, maybe a fight against Spike O'Sullivan. Those are all fights that I'm really interested in. Or Curtis Stevens. I don't think he's in that level yet, but maybe after 3-4 fights, he could get into that lower top 10 level. Like I said, I don't think he could fight a Gabriel Rosado next because he is getting tagged by guys like Johnny Navarrete still. But if he tightens up his defense, he tightens up his punches, keeps his elbow on his chest, and throws punches that aren't as wide as he did in this fight, man, he'd be real good. But he is learning, and I've said this quite a few times in this video, but I want to see him fight again. He has a killer instinct. He throws body punches. He throws combinations, top bottom, and that's what I like to see from a prospect. Speaking of prospects, last Thursday, 22nd of March, Ryan Garcia defeated Fernando Vargas. No, not that Fernando Vargas, in one round by brutal knockout. Now, Fernando Vargas was no slouch. He had about 50 fights. He was 32, 13, and 3. Now, for a guy with about 14, 13 fights, this is a seasoned veteran, knows the tricks of the trade, and Ryan Garcia kept him off with his stiff jab, which I like to see, and his straight rights, which ended up finishing this fight. This was the first time I saw Ryan Garcia fight, and there wasn't much to see because the fight ended before the first round did. But from what I saw, I liked what I saw. He's sound fundamentally, and he threw jabs and straight punches. That's pretty much all I could say, and really all I could ask for. If a lot of people saying that, oh, he fought a bum. Dude had 13 fights, and he blasted a guy with 50 fights. You don't see that every day, man. Oh, he's fighting bums. Do you guys know what a prospect is? Do you know that you can't just go from having 13 fights? Most fighters can't just go from fighting 13 fights, fighting guys like, let's see who Ryan fought in his 13th fight. Noé Martinez Regazo, who has a pretty good record, 23, 9, and 2, but nowhere near world-class level. He can't just go from fighting guys like that to fighting freaking Lomachenko. Freaking boxing fans sometimes. Oh, he's fighting bums. He's a hype job. Dude has 14 fights, man. What do you want from him? He looked good, and he blasted a guy that you want to call him a bum? Well, he sent this bum to hell. He did what he was supposed to do to him. I'm not calling him the next Oscar De La Hoya, but I'm not calling him a bum killer either. But because he's doing what he's supposed to do to these guys. I'm not calling Fernando Vargas a bum because it looked like he has a very good record. Maybe he was meant to lose, but he was meant to give him some rounds, touch him up a little bit. But he didn't do that. Ryan Garcia excelled in this fight. He excelled. And that's what I like to see from young guys. All right, now that I got that off my chest, I could talk about the heavyweight action that we had. Dillian Whyte versus Lucas Browne. Now, one thing I didn't know is that they called Dillian Whyte the body snatcher. Was that always a thing? Did they always call him that? Since when? There's certain names like the body snatcher that belong to fighters. Like the body snatcher name belongs to Mike McCallum. Sugar belongs to Sugar Ray Robinson and Sugar Ray Leonard. Leonard could use it because Robinson allowed him to. Now, other fighters shouldn't be using these names. I don't think the body snatcher is on Sugar level as a nickname, but it is on the level of, let's say, a lights out. I would be a little bit upset if someone else called themselves lights out that wasn't on the level of a James Toney. I don't think Dillian Whyte deserves the name of the body snatcher. But that being said, he beat up Lucas Browne. This was a terrible fight. Lucas Browne came fat and out of shape. He was slow. He didn't have much coming in. He was huffing and puffing, and Whyte ends him in the 6th brutally. And the first time I saw this knockout, I was like, damn. But after watching this fight, I'm less impressed because he fought a guy with no soul in there. He he fought a guy that was extremely out of shape, that was gone a couple rounds before he knocked him out. This fight was sad, man. It was sad watching Lucas Browne be all fat and out of shape and broken down. He broke his soul, man. He took his soul. I don't know if it was him being off the roids or not, but either way, man, this fight, it was kind of embarrassing to watch. It was not fun. Dillian Whyte, props to him, I guess, but I don't think higher of him. I don't think lower of him for this fight. I just think he did what he was supposed to do, man. And I guess that's how I end this video. I just did what I was supposed to do. Watched all these fights, enjoyed myself, but at the end of the day, there was a bunch of decent fights. That was it. Not a great 2 weekends of boxing that I regret missing. Actually, I do regret missing Jose Ramirez versus Amir Imam live, and I do wish that I could find a full fight. And if you could find the full fight, let me know. Hit me up, inbox me, put it in the comments, anything, please. I want to watch that fight. I want to see how Jose Ramirez does against Progress, like I've already stated. But other than that, it is what it is. If you're still watching, man, thank you. Thank you for watching, and have a great day. Peace.